Oh. Well, the 200, she's gone. So what's next, you reckon? Well, I'm down here at Big Dog Builds. I'm going to take you for a walk through and show you. Got a few options to choose from. Yes, I'm going to build an American ute. Can you believe it? We'll run through all the factors of that, why, but anyway, we'll come through and have a look. We'll talk to the boys in the know, but a couple of things I need it to have. Big towing, big payload, needs to be a four-wheel drive, and I've got to put a train canopy on it. So, got a few options. We'll come and have a look, and I want to make this as informative as I can to help you guys out if you're in the same predicament as me. What do you want as a big touring rig in Australia these days? We'll go and find out. All right, now before we get into this American build, yes, we've got a few choices, I'll show you them, but I want to do a bit of a homage to the 200. It's served me well over the years. It's taken me and the family all around the country, mate, from Cape York to Arnhem Land to the West Coast to the South Coast, mate. It's been an unbelievable rig, so just hold tight. I'll drop in a quick montage of how good the 200 was. But evolution of travel and evolution of vehicles in Australia, we're moving to one of these bad boys, one of these American utes. Righto, so there's three big brands to choose from in my opinion. When you do your research, you got a Ram, you got an F-Truck and you got a Chevy. Now, there's only so much research you can do. I'm gonna ask the boys inside about what their most popular vehicles are and all their most frequently asked questions. We'll get to that. And then I think it's gonna come down to what suits you, your personal preference and which vehicle you like. Now, I know which one I like the best, but is it gonna suit my needs? We'll have to ask a few questions and find out. Alright, so we're talking about research outside into these vehicles. Now, these are the guys that take all the work out of that for you. So Dino, come and say good day to mate.
Hey,
How
mate.
are you?
Good, yeah.
Now, he's up here in the fishbowl, workshop's down there, workers are going rampant, but first port of call when you start researching these vehicles, get in touch with these guys. Now, what are you going to ask, like a first timer like me, who has sort of got a lot of touring experience?
Not experience
at all. A lot of Toyota experience,
yeah.
But nothing to do with American utes and vehicles. What are you going to ask someone and how do you go about it?
Yeah, so first point of call, obviously a lot of people that are keen to sort of know more about the American trucks really comes down to what platform to jump in. That's probably the number one question. A lot of research into if a 1500 Chevy Ram Ford's going to be big enough for them, or if they need to jump up into the HD truck, and that's probably the biggest question or decider that we're getting at the moment. We really just go through a lot of questions: what you're towing, what your use case is, if you're traveling with the family, if it's just a couple. The towing's the big one because the GVM on these vehicles changes. There's categories, as you may know, NB1 versus NB2. So only the HD trucks can go up into that truck category, and that's really where you need to be for the bigger setups. So canopies with a big trailer.
Cool. So that's the first port of call, and then after that you decide on what sort of vehicle you're doing, what parts you're going to put on it, and then turnaround time typically for a build these days, what would it be?
Yeah, so depending on the size of the build, we can really do a few different stages here. We've got customers from all around Australia now, so it really depends on how many times they want to come into the workshop. The essentials package is probably the first point of call, and that's really your suspension, or getting the vehicle ready for towing. So your suspension, your wheels, your tyres, maybe a long-range fuel tank, as well as some airbags in the back. And that's really the first point of call when it comes to getting the vehicle a lot better condition, or a lot more ready to tow than how they come off the showroom floor. And the biggest things comparing that is high pressure, very cheap sort of truck tyres, so changing out your wheels and tyres is your big thing. And then the shock absorbers that come standard on them, they're okay for daily use, but as soon as we start adding weight, the better materials is where you want to be.
So you've got to up everything for make it fit for purpose.
Pretty much, yeah. So fit for purpose, Australian roads, we know how great they are.
Yeah.
So those highways, it can be pretty atrocious. So yeah, really just making the vehicle still be safe and reliable on the road to be able to tow the big trailers is where it's at. So that's literally number one. But you do need to get into the right vehicle platform, and that's still what I'm seeing is a lot of people thinking they can push the smaller 1500s. They're jumping out of the Land Cruisers, they're jumping out of patrols, and they're thinking that the 1500 range can do it with a canopy and the 4.5 ton trailer, and you just can't make those numbers work. It's just not the right vehicle platform for it.
Sweet. Like I said, there's a lot of confusing information out there, and if you don't have time to research it, you're best off talking to the guys that build them day in, day out. We're going to duck down the workshop now, we'll jump in the back of a few. I've still actually never driven one, so have you got a Chevy or something for me to drive?
I'm sure we've got a few around here, mate.
You can see first impressions of driving one. I've been in one, never been behind the wheel of one. I've got a few more questions to ask. We'll jump downstairs and we'll figure it out so you guys can learn something.
Hey, come on down, let's, hopefully they're not too loud out there.
All right, I'm going to throw some questions at Dino because, like I said, I've got a lot of experience in the touring sort of space, but not so much in the American ute and vehicle space. Now, my big one, and this goes all the way back to 5 years ago when I built the 200, is are American utes, are the parts available? Are they reliable? Can you get a service agent? All those little niggling factors that were in my head 5 years ago, has that changed a lot in the last 5 years of progression?
Definitely. Like, you just look at the number of vehicles on the road now compared to back then. I was in exactly the same boat as you and probably everyone else. It was like you could see a few popping up, but it's one thing that it still gets brought up daily. Are they going to be reliable? A lot of my customers traveling around Australia full time, not many issues at all, to be honest. Nothing more than what you'd get out of a normal vehicle. And then service agents, things like that. So you've got companies like Ram Trucks Australia with dealers around Australia now. They're knowing more and more about their vehicles, especially the HD ones, as well as GMSV. So GMSV, backed by GM in the US, have just come in a big way, and they've got parts dealerships all around Australia. But the best thing is, and what I say to my customers, get online and buy your own spares as well before you hit the road full time, which you can go into that in a bit more detail. But freight here in Australia, I can get something out of LA quicker than I can out of Sydney. So it's just getting easier, better, more people know about them, and smaller workshops around Australia. They're not that big and scary to work on. They may look big and scary, but it's actually an easier engine bay than a 200 series.
So I suppose if you're in the same situation as me, if you've been on the road for a while, you hear all the horror stories, or you've met people around the traps that are stuck in Cape York because they can't get a fuel injector, or they do a windscreen and they can't find a windscreen for 2 months because they're in Karratha. But I think you told me a story, you can get one out of Perth in 4 days or something now. So things have changed, and all those smaller guys in remote locations have worked on these vehicles before, which I think eases a lot of the anxiety you got, or I used to have, about being remote and something silly breaking down. You know, which is why I sort of bypassed this market years ago. And I'm not sad that I did it. Like, I had a great time and had a great vehicle to do it in, but times have changed and that anxiety's gone now. You've got mobs like Big Dog and Dean that are just punching these things out. They know them inside and out. You've got service agents everywhere. So I think that's a big question. That's sort of eased, mate. A lot of people are in the same boat.
Oh, that's exactly right. And the windscreen one's a great one. I got a little Suzuki Jimny sitting over there, and I took 3 months to get a windscreen on that because it was a new model with a sensor all of a sudden. So I think it doesn't matter what industry or what sort of vehicle background it is these days. Everyone's a little bit more tolerant after COVID, I reckon, as well. So people are used to waiting that little bit more, and they know that nothing's perfect in this world. And with more and more people in these trucks around Australia, it's definitely getting easier and easier.
Sweet. And I think one big thing which I've always lived by is, like, buy once, buy right. Poor man pays twice. If you come somewhere like this, they use the right gear for the right job, because they've done it before a million times. They've weeded out the stuff that doesn't work. and you end up with stuff that's going to be quality and reliable, so you don't have as many issues, if any, if you've got the cheaper, nasty stuff. So anyway, that's question 1. Let's change location and do question 2. All right, question number 2, Dino.
Get down off the ramp, mate.
The tool bastard. Number 2, what's the favourite build in the shop? Like if you walk around here now, I reckon it's 80% Chevys and then 10% F-trucks, 10% Rams, but is that a normal thing? Or is that like a common theme?
Mate, the times have changed. I think when we first started Big Dog Builds, Rams were just everywhere. So Ram 2500s, 3500s, GMSB have really just hit the market in a big way. And it does come down to the choice of NB1 versus NB2 from the factory. So Walkinshaw plant down south, you can choose either a car or a truck license. We can go through that in a little bit more detail later on, but Chevy's definitely taking over the HD 2500 trucks, most popular HD truck in Australia for a reason, and that's why we've got more of them in the shed than anything else.
Sure. And does that lead into another question? So yeah, they got different options, but are they more value for money? Do you get more bang for buck in a Chevy with what comes in them technology-wise and sort of features as opposed to the other vehicles?
Yeah, so talking about the HD trucks, so comparing your Chevy versus your Ram versus your Ford, Chevy have definitely nailed the market because of the price point in the vehicle.
Yep.
They also did a big interior upgrade in the 24 model trucks. So that interior upgrade, they got a nice, beautiful, big LED screen in them now. So they were behind the market when it came to interior, and now that they've come to market, they're probably one of the nicest now. Is another reason that they're so popular, because the drivability of them is beautiful. When it comes to sort of the usability and the performance of them, your biggest differences in the Chevy versus your Ram and your Ford is the suspension. So Chevy's got a little bit more limited front end suspension with the torsion setup. So it's almost like an old 100 series.
Yeah.
That's reliable. What I say anyway, but reliable.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then your Ford and your Ram are solid axles. So more expensive to build a Ford, more expensive to build up a Ram. The Chevy, a little bit cheaper, but still really practical and really ticks most of our customers' needs. So,
and like I said at the start of the vid, like it's function over form. So I want to build this thing that suits me, so fit for purpose. I'm not going to low range rock hop this thing up a cliff. I'm not going to do mud bashing and stuff. I want to tow big loads and I want to go up the beach, so I need a four-wheel drive that's capable of doing those few things. So in my mind, you know, I'd rather spend money on different mods than more capable front suspension. Make sense?
Yeah, 100%. But I think one of the, and that leads into another question again, which is the capability of them.
Yeah. I
think that misconception of these trucks are too big, too heavy. They might be a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, and you're not going to throw them around like you would an old patrol. You know, you're not going to go and do those rock hopping like you said.
That's not what you're buying it for.
Beach work, bit of corrugations, touring off road, and they really just tick all the boxes. Yeah, they're that good for that as well. So.
Sweet. Next one. All right, we're in the tyres, so we might as well talk about tyres.
Definitely are.
I know there's probably, normally it's let's choose between a 31 and a 33 inch tyre, but when you step up into these utes, you're probably talking do I go a 35 or a 37?
Yeah. 34s, 33s are a thing of the past around here now. So unless it's some of the smaller, like the F-150, still run a slightly smaller tyre, that's your 285, 70, 18 there.
Yeah.
But 35, 12.5, 18 is probably the most popular tyre. I think the 35 is all that's really needed on these big trucks.
Yep.
You can jump up to your 37s in the NB2 category on most of them as well. So if it is a truck, jump up into that next category, go a bigger tyre, but as you know, bigger tyre, more fuel.
More wear.
More fuel, more wear and tear, more wear and tear on the driveline of the vehicle.
Yep.
And the worst thing, you can't fit the spare wheel underneath the factory spare wheel location.
You have to get a canopy and put it on the back.
Pretty much. 35s will fit under pretty much all of them.
I think the biggest thing is over 3-inch lift 35s looks nice. 6-inch lift 35s maybe look a bit small.
Yeah, so you really need
if
to
you're
get
trying to fit it in to make it look good, got to be in proportion.
It's all about that proportion. You want to get your offset of your wheels right.
Yeah.
Cover that with flares, lift height, wheels and tyres. It's about performance, practicality, but we can also look good while doing it.
Yeah, nice. All right, that's wheels. So might as well talk about suspension. All right, quickly just want to touch base.
Who said filming a workshop's easy?
It's good, isn't it? All right, we'll try again. Quickly, just want to touch base on suspension. I won't go too much into it, but your main options, mate, for these American utes are going to be what?
Yeah, you pretty much see leveling kits, so your sort of 2 to 3 inch lifts.
Yep.
And then you can step up to your bigger lifts, like your 5 inch, 6.5 inch, depending on the model.
Which get a lot more complicated with chassis cuts and all that sort of stuff.
So gone are the days of your old sort of Ford Ranger, jacked up, your CV angles are crazy. The way that the US lift these bigger trucks is a whole different way.
Yep.
So your bigger lift kits have new spindles, new arms, new drop boxes, a whole lot of components to get those bigger lift kits, but they do drive quite well.
Yep.
But your 3 inch or your leveling kits on most of them, I think is all you need to be.
Yep. And then brand-wise, Fox BDS is the main one you use?
Yeah, Fox BDS, especially in the Chevy platform,
Yep.
definitely one of the best in the market. Best thing that BDS did was introduce the Fox 2.5 shocks to pretty much all of their lift kits.
Yep.
And in my opinion, these big trucks need a good shock, and the 2.5 remote resis is where it's at.
Nice. Simple. Righto, there's heaps of modifications you can do. It's super confusing. I'm going to try and limit that for you. Dino, 3 of the best mods you can put on one of these American utes, and go.
I don't know how you're confused, but 3, I'm going to mix your wheels and tyres and make that number 1.
Yep.
So that's 1. 2 would be your suspension.
Yep.
And 3 would be your airbag set up in the rear end, or sorting out the rear end in that suspension, super important. So airbags, wheels and tyres, and suspension.
Done.
Flick one back at you.
Yeah.
What's more important, cold beer or a hot coffee?
I reckon they're par. Depends what time of day you ask me.
Always love that one. You have to have a cold beer and a hot coffee.
That's good. Yeah. Sweet. All right, it's time to scare me. What do you think I'm going to ask you?
It's got to be cost, eh?
Yeah, it's got to be cost.
I'm not cheap, mate, but you'll love it.
Let's go ballpark, because I want to figure out, like I said, there's choices between the brands.
Yeah.
Let's go, what are we going to be on road for a package like this behind us in a Chevy?
So Chevy 2500 with Essentials package, you're going to be on road just over 200k.
Yep.
So definitely still not cheap, but what else can tow 4.5 tonne for that dollar and be super comfortable and capable?
Yep.
Big on budget really comes down to people wanting to know about the 1500 range versus the 2500. Towing that 4.5 tonne, you're really going to end up in the same place, so you might as well jump up into the bigger one.
Yep. Save you swapping and changing into a new vehicle after you figure out you can't do what you want to do with the smaller platform. Sweet. Now RAM, how much is the RAM?
RAM's probably going to be that little bit more.
Yep.
It comes down to the suspension components. You can go sort of basic and you can go all out.
Yep.
And then Ford's the most expensive.
Yep.
There's nothing else about it. The vehicle itself, most expensive to modify. You can throw some pretty crazy kits at them.
Yep.
And they're going to just be most expensive all day, every day.
Sweet. All right. There's a lot of info there. I still haven't driven one. The boys are going to give me one. I'll jump in. We'll go for a bit of a spin and give you a recap, and I'll tell you about my thoughts and maybe give you a hint of where I'm going to head. I'm pretty sure I've decided already, but you never know. Let's get the keys.
It'll be the most expensive, wouldn't it?
Some keys?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not allowed them, mate. Won't get any work done if I have keys in my pocket.
All right, we got the keys. Let's go for a spin. First time. Yeah. This thing's a weapon. Massive space in here. Amount of space is ridiculous. It's got this huge big center console. You look back in the back seat, the room for the kids is just crazy. I'm loving it. To be sitting in here first time and feel so comfortable straight away. I was expecting to feel a bit awkward and feel a bit more truck-like, you know, but it's definitely not. I'll get on the highway here and roll. Man, I'm liking it. I'm liking this idea more and more. Righto, quick recap for you. So we dropped into Big Dog today. We've learnt a lot, mate, from Dino. What I've taken away from it is that pretty much got 3 platforms to choose from, all right? So we've got the Chevy, which I like. I really like that option because I'm a tight ass, and that's probably the best bang for buck option out there, and they still look pretty sick. Then you got the Ram, which is sort of the next level up with a bit more off-road capability and stuff. And then you've got the F truck, which, hell, the one in that workshop looks absolutely sensational, but they are a lot of dollars, and I don't know if I'll get that past the misso, who is the Minister of Finance in my household. But I'm pretty sure I've decided on what I want to do, but I'll take it back to the wife and we'll have a yarn about it and see what happens. But we did talk about a lot. We had budget, we had modifications, we had towing stuff, GVMs, what you need and what you don't need. So I've got a lot to think about, and I really hope you guys got a lot of info out of that. I learnt a lot talking to Dino and the guys from Big Dog Builds. So yeah, any comments, questions, feedback you have, drop them in down below, and I'll try and filter them through in the next few vids. So I will do a build vid of this, so once the build is complete, we'll run you through everything we've done so you can sort of have a look at it. And know that everything that I've chosen has come from a lot of research and talking to people, trying to make sure it's the right parts and the right features for me, you know. So I hate wasting money, mate, so I'm not going to do that. But hope you enjoyed that. Hope there's some good info. And I'll tell you one good thing that helped me a lot before I come down to see these lads is Big Dog have got a really cool Instagram feed where Dino does a lot of little tutorials or informational vids that really helped me get my head around a background of these vehicles and what to look for, and give me a few questions to ask him while I'm there. So go and check that stuff out as well. And then yeah, hit me up, mate. Happy to help. For now, I'm going to take this thing back, and then in about 2 months' time, I should have my own. Happy days. I'll see you around. You know what, I'll tell you one thing, it's bloody scary driving a car worth 200 grand that's not yours. I'm like, I really want to give it some and get a bit carried away, but can you imagine if I had to take this back all dinged up? Oh.